Follow-up questions from July 20th at Community of Grace. This week I was preaching about Genesis 22, when God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac on the top of Mount Moriah. I talked about how we got to see Abraham practicing his faith and trust in God as he trusted that God would provide for him on the mountain that day. Now, after those sermons, somebody asked me, what about Isaac? How do we understand Isaac's role in this story? Which is a really good question, because as we see Abraham growing and developing in his relationship with God, we see Isaac probably being traumatized by his father's willingness to sacrifice him on the mountain that day. Now, I want to be clear that there's not really one easy and tidy answer to this question. This story is uncomfortable, and it's okay to say that sometimes the Bible can just be a little bit uncomfortable. But one way that I like to think about this story is to compare Abraham's mature faith with Isaac's still young faith. Abraham had years and years of seeing how God was providing for him, seeing the ways that God's promises stayed faithful and steady. Isaac, on the other hand, didn't have those years and years of seeing God provide because Isaac was still a young boy. I like to see this story as one of the first building blocks in Isaac building his relationship with God. Just as Abraham was able to make this decision to trust God because he had seen God providing over the years, this is a time that Isaac can now point back to and say, here is when the Lord provided for me. Regardless of anything that Abraham might have done that day, God was never going to let Isaac be sacrificed. God was always planning on providing a ram so that no harm would come to Isaac. Now, Isaac might have lost some sleep over this story in the years to come. I know that I certainly would have. But I also hope that Isaac could keep pointing back and saying, this is a time when the Lord provided. This is a time when I learned that I can trust in God because God will take care of me. I hope that as you go into the rest of this week that you can maybe take some time and look back on the stories from your life. See the times when it was very evident that God was providing for you. Maybe see the times where it's a little harder to see God's provision, but if you stop and think about it, you'll know that God's presence is all around us and God's faithful promises never fail us.